Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. One year ago this month, hundreds of New Yorkers gathered on a bright and bitterly cold Saturday morning right here at Grand Army Plaza. It was 6 months before the Democratic primary for mayor. We were in the low single digits in the polls at best. Every ounce of conventional wisdom said that our campaign was not supposed to work. Surely there was a better way to spend a Saturday than knocking on doors, talking to strangers, and crossing the small but real distances that separate us from one another. And yet, New Yorkers showed up at a moment when so many people feel isolated from one another and distant from a political system that can feel closed or unresponsive. They made a deliberate choice, not to be bystanders, but to become participants. Their own politics and their own vision for New York City being the driving force behind what they were going to do. And that meant knocking on doors of people who lived just blocks away but whom they had never met. It meant asking questions instead of assuming answers. It meant listening instead of lecturing, finding common ground. And that experience taught us something simple and profound. Democracy works best when people are not treated as an audience, but as an active part of it. Governing demands the same. That is why we are here today. We are gathered at Grand Army Plaza, surrounded by powerful symbols of public life. The central branch of the Brooklyn Public Library, designed like an open book, a statement that knowledge should be shared and accessible to all. The Soldiers and Sailors Arch, a Civil War monument honoring those who fought in a war waged for a new birth of freedom and the expansion of democracy itself. Prospect Park, public space built not to be exclusive or ornamental, but to be shared. These are reminders of a belief that once guided this city, that public infrastructure should be generous, beautiful, and open. But a city is not held together by buildings alone. It is held together by trust and by whether people feel connected to the decisions that shape their life. That social infrastructure has been neglected for too long. Too often, engagement is fragmented or symbolic. Too often, people are asked for input, but never see how it shapes outcomes. Today, that changes. With the signing of this executive order, we will be establishing the Mayor's Office of Mass Engagement, a fundamental part of city government dedicated to rebuilding our social infrastructure at scale. This office, combining and reorienting the existing Community Affairs Unit, Public Engagement Unit, and other initiatives, starts from a simple premise. Working New Yorkers know what they need to thrive. Our job is to make sure government listens, consistently and with real consequence. The Office of Mass Engagement will organize participation across this city, proactively reach those that have been excluded, and ensure that public feedback is embedded directly into how we design policies, deliver services, and make decisions. And to lead this work, I am proud to announce that Tasha Van Auken will serve as commissioner. Since President Obama's first campaign in 2008 to her leadership in New York City DSA, Tasha has spent more than a decade organizing at scale, developing leadership, building trust, and helping working people turn priorities into action. On our campaign, she mobilized more than 100,000 volunteers who knocked on more than 3 million doors. Not just to win an election, but to build leadership and a real sense of community across this city. She also spent many years working at the Blue Man Group, which means she brings both organizing discipline and an unusual tolerance for chaos. The Office of Mass Engagement reflects how we intend to govern, with humility, openness, and a firm belief that democracy is strongest when it belongs to the people, not just in theory, but in practice. And we should be clear about how this work will be judged, not by how many meetings we hold or surveys we collect, but by whether people can see their voices reflected in the decisions that we make. Judge us by whether engagement changes outcomes. Just as past generations invested in the public spaces around us, this administration is investing in the civic fabric that holds our city together. And that same commitment to openness, participation, and rebuilding trust in our institutions guides how we approach every part of city government. That is why today I am also announcing that Ali Najmi will serve as chair of the Mayor's Advisory Committee on the Judiciary. Under Ali's leadership, this committee will take on a more public and engaged role, reaching beyond City Hall to the wider legal community, demystifying the judicial selection process, expanding who participates in shaping our courts, and ensuring that our city's judicial system applies the rule of law universally and does so without favor. This includes proactive engagement with legal services organizations, bar associations, and minority and affinity bars, with the goal of widening the pipeline and strengthening confidence in our judiciary. Ali is a civil rights and election attorney with deep experience in our local courts, a longtime bar association leader who has helped diversify the judiciary in Queens, and someone I've known and admired for more than a decade as a friend, an attorney, and a leader in this city. Tasha Van Auken, Ali, welcome to a new era in our city. I look forward to building it with you together.